Hello there, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of TA with MK. My name is McKay, and in today's video, we're going to go over my Bitcoin price projections for this bull run. We're going to go over a couple of things, kind of a timing perspective of when I think the top could be, sort of a plan A and plan B, and then also 4 or 5 different Bitcoin price projections, what the market cap for Bitcoin would be, and kind of how I come up with these projections, essentially. Now, if how I get there does not matter to you and you just want to see a price in front of you so that you can do whatever you want with that information, I will leave timestamps in the description, so that way if you just want to see the price projections, you can skip forward to that part. Otherwise, buckle up and hang in there. We're in for a bit of a bumpy ride, and if you wouldn't mind doing me a huge favor before we jump into the video, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's go. It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. All right, so we're going to quickly go over the Bitcoin weekly chart here on Bitstamp, and this is going to be very much one of those, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, or it works until it doesn't kind of approaches. But just to be upfront and honest, at the end of the day, this cycle could be completely different than the past cycles. This might give us some clues as when to anticipate a potential top, but again, will it happen during that time frame? I don't think anybody truly knows. Same with price. All we can do is make educated guesses based on the history of a coin, but that's the thing about history, is history can change. So then I guess that begs the question, why would I be talking about timing the Bitcoin top on a video where we're discussing Bitcoin price projections? Well, let me just quickly explain that. So basically my approach, or at least my plan as far as this bull run goes, as it pertains to when I want to take profits on, anything, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, especially altcoins, since that's more what I'm heavily invested in, it's going to be a very much whichever comes first type of approach. Because in my opinion, we want to be prepared for a couple of different potential outcomes. We're already experiencing something different in this bull run that we haven't in the past, and that's that we've broken the all-time high prior to the halving, which is supposed to happen in April or mid-April sometime. In the past, we usually had the halving and then, followed that with a rally up, broke the all-time high from the previous cycle, and then from there went on to make, a new all-time high. So because we're already doing something different, that kind of has me on, high alert that this bull run could very much be different. Now, I know a lot of times in previous bull runs, everybody always says this one's different, this one's different. Well, the reality is this one is different. We have the ETF that was approved for Bitcoin. There's a lot of hype around the idea that Ethereum could be next, and an ETF could be approved for that. So what could that ultimately mean? Well, it could mean that we see higher prices, or we're already seeing higher prices at a much faster rate. Does it mean that we just go higher and higher and higher and still end the bull run around the same time? That's possible. But could it also mean that maybe we top out a little bit earlier and have a little bit more of a flush out, and we don't quite get the exact full 4-year cycle? But either way, I don't have a magic ball, you don't have a magic ball, so we just are going to do our best with what information we have to come up with a plan. And for me, if you look at this chart, and I'll zoom in and kind of as we go through this, I have a bunch of vertical lines here, each representing something different, but they are color coordinated. So the orange lines represent when we had our Bitcoin halvings. The green lines represent when we broke the previous cycle's all-time high. And the pink lines represent each time Bitcoin at the end of its cycles put in its top price. So what I'm looking at here is a correlation or some sort of rhythm or rhyme between the different cycles as it pertains to timing. And we're going to throw out the first cycle just because we don't have enough data there from the time that this chart at least shows the price of Bitcoin to when it had its top. So we're going to move on to the second cycle, which was the 2017 top. And I've listed on here that we had 518 days between the halving and when Bitcoin topped out. Fast forward to the last bull run, which was the 2021 top. You had the halving followed by 546 days, so just a few more weeks. And then it put in its 2021 top. So what I've done over here on the right is I've taken both of those to basically create a little bit of a zone combined with the full length of the cycles. So from top to top, which would be pink to pink, go back here from the 2013 top to 2017, you had 1,477 days. And then again, from the 2017 top to the 2021 top, you had 1,428 days. So again, very, very similar as far as the timing goes. So then all I've done is I've come over here to the right and I've made a blue box that basically represents kind of the lower end and the higher end of those projected time frames. And it gives us a date range between September 22nd, 2025 to November 24th, 2025 to expect a potential top based on that data. And then I've also taken the idea that we're ahead of schedule. You know, Bitcoin's broken its all-time high, like I said, prior to the Bitcoin halving. So we're going to look at these green boxes, which is whenever Bitcoin broke its previous all-time high, how many days between that and when the top was in? Well, back here in 2017, it was 287 days. In the 2021 bull run, between the time it broke its all-time high and made a top, it was 329 days. So then I've just put the same exact kind of box over here on the right where I've taken the lower end and the higher end, and that gives us a date range between December 16th, 2024 and January 27th, 2025. And then, of course, in my opinion, anything in between there is fair game as far as I'm concerned, but this at least gives me some ideas of how much longer the bull run potentially could go or couldn't go. And in my opinion, which is, again, this is all just my opinion based on how I'm looking at these charts, we at least should see Bitcoin continue to go higher between now and the end of the year. I think if it only goes higher for the most part between now and the end of the year, there's a good chance that the bull run does end sooner than we'd like. I think if we get some sort of a pullback over the next few months, or maybe even one leading into the end of the year, then it's more likely, in my opinion, that the bull run pushes out further into kind of the latter part or end of next year. Okay, so now that I've literally beat that horse to death, we're going to move on to my Bitcoin price projections. But first, I want to show you a sheet here that I put together. It's not something I'm going to dive too deep into in the video, but I just want to kind of explain where I'm getting some of my ideas from. So all I did is I jotted down what the Bitcoin 2013 bull run's all-time high was. Now, granted, this is from the USD Bitstamp chart that we were looking at on the previous page. Now, that could vary by a few dollars depending on what chart you're looking at, but anyway, so we had the low to top. What this means is the lowest price that was on that chart to its top rose by about 58,000%, just a little bit over. The market cap ended at $14.01 billion, and the circulating supply was just a little over 12 million. Bitcoin 2017 bull run, all-time high, just over 19,500. Now, whenever I reference this low to top, I'm referencing the low of that bear market to obviously this top price, which in this case was 19,666. And I'm saying that there was a 12,838% gain. So if you'd have bought the exact low and sold the exact top, that would have been the percentage gain you would have made. Now, from top to top, I'm referring to the top of the previous bull market. So in this case, 1163 to the top of the current bull market, or in this case, the 2017 one, which was 19,666. And that came up with a 1,590%. Again, I put what the market cap was at the end of the bull run, what the circulating supply rose to. And then down here, I just did some math of what like the market cap top to top was from a percentage gain standpoint, going from 14.01 billion as the top of the previous bull market to the top of like the 2017 one was 2,258%. And I'll explain in just a minute what all this meant to me. But anyway, well, just to continue on, we have the 2021 bull run, all-time high price, 69,000. If you bought the bottom and sold the top, it was a 2,110% gain. Top to top was 250.86%. So if you had bought the top back in 2017 and were able to hold on and sell the exact top of 2021, that was how much Bitcoin rose by. And then the market cap was up to 1.3 trillion for Bitcoin, the supply a little over 18.5 million. And then again down here, I put from top to top from a market cap perspective, one bull run to the next. As far as the tops were concerned, it rose by 293.48%. So essentially the knowledge that I was looking to pertain from all of this was just to get an idea from one bull run to the next. The idea of diminishing returns, I wanted to see how much from a percentage standpoint were we making less as far as it related from like Bitcoin's top from one cycle to the next, and see if I could put some sort of a number together to at least give me an idea of what potential we had for this bull run. And what I did is I took, for example, like the Bitcoin 2013 bull run, and that actually we're going to go ahead and just fast forward to the 2017 one. This will just be a little easier to show in front of you. But I took, for example, that, okay, the market cap from top to top, you take 2,258%, plug it into this website that I have over here. I'll leave the link in the description. I used it in the last video, but if you haven't seen that, it's calculator.net. I just use it to help me get percentages quickly. So if we take 2,258 and we go over here to the 2021 bull run, and it was only 293.48, I type that in over here, type 48. How much of a decrease was that from a percentage standpoint? And it comes up with an 87% decrease in percentage. Okay then, so then what about from bottom to top? So here in 2017, it was a 15,783%, so 15,783. decreased down from that potential gain to 2,290.58. So we'll type those two numbers in and calculate it, and that comes up with just over 85%. So then I just simply took the average between the 87 and 85 and typed in 86% here, replaced this number over here with the last top percentage gain, which was 293.48, and said, hey, what if we repeat ourselves and drop by around the same amount as far as our diminishing gains? What would that equal? I hit calculate, and it came up with 41%. So I just rounded that down here on my chart. I just put 40% just to be safe, and said, okay, what if Bitcoin this time around from top to top only has a 40% gain? So kind of a very, very safe projection, at least in my opinion. So then from there, it does get a little bit easier. I just took that 40% and added it to the previous all-time high market cap of 1.3 trillion, which brings us up to 1.82 trillion. I also want to take into account the circulating supply, because that will be a factor depending on when we hit the all-time high, what the circulating supply is at, because as Bitcoin miners mine so much each month, it increases this amount that's in supply, which will have a direct impact on the price. I can estimate that it'll be somewhere between like 19.8 and 20 million. So that gives us a price range of somewhere between $91,000 to the high on the low end to $92,600 on the upper end. So essentially, barring some sort of black swan event, something unforeseen, or maybe a major crash in the stock market, which I guess would likely be a black swan event, this is kind of my safe estimate for Bitcoin, maybe the most realistic estimate if we're not going to hit 100,000 and we fall a bit short. And in our next video, we will apply this market cap combined with Ethereum's potential and the dominance for both to kind of determine what we think altcoins will do. But as far as Bitcoin is concerned in this video, my safe projection is 91,000 to 92,500-ish. And then these other projections that I have down here are mostly based on some of what the other giant companies' market caps are, and if Bitcoin's able to, potentially reach or pass some of those companies. Still trying to keep it realistic, and I'll explain why some of the price projections that people have come out with, to me at least, are unrealistic for this bull run. So, for example, we can come over here to this website, companiesmarketcap.com. I'll leave a link in the description, and we can see that gold, of course, is a tradable asset, and it has the highest market cap of everything. It's at 14.531 trillion, at least at the time of making this video. But then you have the second largest company, which is Microsoft, and they're sitting at about a $3.85 trillion market cap. You can scroll down past Apple, Nvidia, this Aramco, Amazon, and of course Google, and you'll see Bitcoin sitting down here at about a 1.39 trillion market cap. So then the question I have to ask myself is, what is realistic, in my opinion at least, as far as an evaluation for Bitcoin at the end of this bull run? Is it going to pass every single one of these companies and start competing with gold over the next year? That would be amazing, especially for those of us that are holding Bitcoin, but to me that's not necessarily realistic. So if we go back over here to my other chart, I've got target number 2 as a $2 trillion market cap, which would put us kind of up here just above Amazon. In fact, to back up just a little, the first market cap, 1.82 trillion, the $91,000 Bitcoin, would actually put us right there at number 6, tied with Amazon, assuming Amazon obviously stayed put as far as its market cap is concerned. And if we reach 2, we're up here competing with Saudi Aramco. That would my projection number 2, which the price of Bitcoin would have to be between 100 and 101,000. My $2.3 trillion projection, which is Bitcoin hitting 115 to 116,000, would be up there competing with like Nvidia, which has been on a huge tear over the past year or so. And then kind of the moonshot one, which would be my number 4 projection at about 2.6, would be, hey, can we reach all the way up here to the number 3 spot, or at least what could potentially be the number 3 spot with a company like Apple? And for that to happen, Bitcoin would have to reach between $130,000 and $131,000. So then I guess one of the last questions we ask ourselves as we kind of wrap up this video is, are these projections realistic? Now, in my opinion, most of them are realistic, but a few of the higher ones, anything above 120,000 to me kind of borderlines the unrealistic or at least improbable idea. And the reason for that is because what the market cap has to actually get to in order for that to happen. A lot of these companies that are, achieving these market caps that we spoke about have been around for a lot longer than Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is, of course, rising at a faster rate than about anything ever has in history. So is it possible? I would definitely say so. But when you see projections of like $250,000, let's just do the math really quick to finish this video up to show you kind of how I would come up with what the market cap would have to be for Bitcoin to hit that price. So then all that we're doing to actually figure out that projected market cap is actually rather simple. You can take the price of Bitcoin, which in this case would be 250,000 if it were to reach that price. You times that by the potential circulating supply. So let's just say the circulating supply is like 19.8-ish million dollars. And you can hit equal, and that gives you a projected market cap, which in this case would be 4.95 trillion. So is that possible? Of course, anything's possible, like I said before, but that would have it catapult past all of these companies ahead of it and put it safely by itself in number 2 behind gold. And an evaluation or a market cap of around $5 trillion. Ooh, take a breath, we're finally done. Just to kind of recap as we wrap up this video, I think that if we're going to hit an all-time high and put in our top by the end of this year or the very beginning of next year, then something like $90,000 is a very realistic target, and ultimately could just end up being the target regardless of when we hit it. A more potential target that's higher than that, if we see the bull market pull back at some point, have a healthy correction, accumulate some more, and then push higher sometime into the middle or end of next year, I could see us going as high as like 100 and maybe 15 to 120,000. Anything over that might be a little bit too moonish for me, and anything below that would just be unfortunate. But again, anything's possible, and this is just all my opinion based on kind of how I'm looking at the charts. I really do hope you got some sort of value out of this video, and as always, if you did, or you just want to do me a favor, on your way out, please remember to like and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one.
It's T-A